Attention bowlers, we are going to get started. Welcome back to Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts for another exciting Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour match. I'm Steve Kelly on the call. This is a doubleheader today. Bruno DeFeo at Brian Patten and Steven Poste at Dominick Paladino. The match format is 5 strings and 14 points up for grabs. 2 points per string, 4 for total pinfall, with ties splitting points. It's good as always to have you along with us. This match was live streamed on Sunday, January 5th, 2025. Happy New Year, and available for rewatching anytime upon the conclusion of this match. For those interested, I'd like to highlight a few things. First, this broadcast should have subtitles and live captioning enabled. So if you enjoy this feature, please feel free to enable it in the controls below. If you're watching this broadcast on YouTube, the transcript feature will likely also be available. Next, throughout the match, I'll describe the play-by-play action and provide up-to-the-minute scoring to the best of my ability. Keep an eye on the unofficial scoreboard on your screen. It's here for the benefit of the broadcast, while the bowlers maintain the official book records separately. Scores may be subject to review or correction. I may occasionally pause to verify scores if things seem out of sync. I appreciate your patience when that happens, especially in a house like Riverwalk Lanes where it's all paper and pencil manual scoring all the way around. If you're watching this on YouTube later on, there may be times where I may include notes in the description if I catch scoring errors in post-production, so please be sure to check those out. I will do my best to add chapters to the YouTube description, so you can choose to jump to certain points in the games if that is your preference. So anyways, if you're new to the ACST or Candlepin bowling in general, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you and hope you enjoy this match. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Your continued viewership is greatly appreciated. If you like this content, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel for more exciting matches. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let me know in the comments. We are at Riverwalk Lanes today. We're going to be starting in just a few minutes here. The bowlers, I think, are ready to go, so we're going to switch over into our main mode, and I think we should be good. We'll be with you in just one moment here on the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Stay tuned. All right, folks, after a brief delay, we are getting off and rolling. We're going to start out with Steven Poste on your left and Bruno DeFeo on your right. This will be a head-to-head match. That's Bruno DeFeo with an 8 drop to start out. Not in the head pin. Excuse me, not a head-to-head match. Bruno DeFeo, first of all, he'll start out with an 8 drop on the 2 and the 5. Yes. That's a spare for Bruno DeFeo and a spare for Steven Poste. Dueling stereo spares to start things out here on the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Let's talk about Bruno DeFeo. Starting out, he has a season record of 72-40 with 8 matches played, a 1.80 win-loss ratio. It's DeFeo with a 7 fill. And a 7 fill for Steven Poste at the same time. Bruno DeFeo's got the 1-2-8 on the deck. Steven Poste has the 3-6-10 to shoot at. DeFeo fires first. He's off to the right. And Poste will get his spare. 27 and a bonus after 2 for Steven Poste. Again, all scores, going to occasionally pause and verify with the written copy, just to make sure everything is in sync. It's always fun to keep a separate score in the background, as well as maintain the paper copy that the bowlers keep as the official records. So it's going to be a fun time. So Bruno DeFeo on your right in the red shirt, season record of 72 and 40, and he drops 5. Steven Poste, meanwhile, 9 on his spare with a 9 drop. DeFeo with a 5 drop, looking to get things started here. The 1-5-3-8-9. No wood to help him. And DeFeo just pokes 1 pin out, while Poste will take another spare. 3 in a row for Steve Poste. Bruno DeFeo is looking at the 1, the 5, the 3, and the 9 on the deck. And DeFeo fires. He's off to the right. It's going to be a 6 box for Bruno DeFeo after all said and done. Bruno DeFeo has a home record of 48 and 22. That's a 2.18 win-loss ratio after 5 matches played when he's away. He has a 24 and 18 record with 3 matches played, 1.33 win-loss ratio. That's Bruno DeFeo. To the left of the head pin, dropping 5. Steve Poste will lemon drop his spare fill. I guess the party had to end at one point. As you know, lemon drop is a first ball punch out on the 4 or 6 pin. $1 donation to Candlepins per cancer per occurrence. And Bruno DeFeo punches the head pin, and only the head pin. Steve Poste on the head pin for the second ball spare remedial attempt, and he leaves the 2, the 7, and the 10. DeFeo. He's firing on the accordion at the right side. Takes 2, leaves 2. Steve Poste will punch 2 and leave 1. DeFeo 8. Poste 9. 56 after 4 for Poste. And 40 after 4 for Bruno DeFeo. DeFeo with 2 headpin shots. Poste with 2 headpin shots. And that's nearly a strike by Bruno DeFeo, a 9 drop, and that is a strike for Steve Poste. Bruno DeFeo is working on a 9 drop. 9 drop on the 9 pin with wood all around it. And it goes. That is a spare for Bruno DeFeo. 50 and a bonus after 5, and if you can believe it, we're already at the end of the top of the first for 2 of our bowlers. Bruno DeFeo, 50 and a bonus after 5. Steve Poste, 66 and a bonus after 5 with 4 marks. Bruno DeFeo had 2 marks. So anyways, that's the end of the first half for these 2 bowlers. We're going to say hello now to Alex, I swear I'm going to keep gaffing that the whole time. It's Alex Patten and Dominick Paladino. Brian Patten. There we go again. Start a counter. I'm just going to say Patten. Patten to the left of the head pin, and Dominick Paladino with a strike. And Patten, the general, he drops all but the 9. Brian Patten's son is Alex Patten, and I have streamed some of Alex's matches in the past, so that is where the confusion is settling in. It's just a brain muscle memory that I'm just going to have to kick. So anyways, that's a 9 box for Brian Patten and a strike for Dominick Paladino. Brian Patten, season record of 16 and 68 with 6 matches played. And he's off to the right of the head pin there. Paladino on a strike. And pins are still mixing, but it's going to be an 8 drop so far, not on the head pin. Patten punches straight through the center. Not much you can say about that one. Paladino with a spare on strike. On 2 pins remaining. Takes 2 and... Brian Patten will take 2. Or leave 2, that is. For an 8 box. 17 after 2 for Brian Patten and 30 and a bonus after 2 for Dominick Paladino. Brian Patten has a home record of 10 and 46 and a away record of 6 and 22, a season average of 100.1. That's Brian Patten with a lemon drop on the 6. Paladino on a spare. To the right of the head pin. He'll drop 5. A little bit frustrated with that shot. Brian Patten looking to fire. And he'll convert for a spare. That's how you make lemonade out of a lemon drop. And Dominick Paladino takes a few more out and leaves the 1 and the 9 on the deck. That'll be a 9 box for Dominick Paladino. For 44 after 3, Alex Patten has 27 at a bonus after 3. Brian Patten. Oh, my goodness. That's another lemon drop for Brian Patten on the spare, no less. Seen a lot of those already here at Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts. Paladino. He punches as well. With a split. It's the spread eagle minus the 10 and has in with a talon. 4 drop. Brian Patten kicks the 2 lightly, a thin hit. He's got 3 down so far. Dominick Paladino, similar story. And Brian Patten will at least clean up for a 10 box. 38 after 4. Paladino will take 6, a frustrating 6 for 50 after 4. 38 after 4 for Brian Patten. Brian Patten has a home average of 102.7, and when he's away, his average is 97.5. He has a high single of 126 and a high series of 539. That's a 6 drop on the head pin for Brian Patten. Paladino. To the left of the head pin drops 6. Brian Patten for the spare. Calls an audible there. Dominick Paladino, meanwhile, on the 1-2-4-7. He almost gets a kick and a slide, but the 4 horsemen are not completely taken out. That's going to be a 7 box for Brian Patten. For 45 after 5. Paladino shooting for a 10 box. He's thinking long and hard about it. Paladino. Take a 10 for 60 and a ball after 5. To finish the top of the first, all 4 bowlers, Bruno DeFeo is up in the total by 5 and a bonus 50 to Brian Patten's 45. Steven Poste is up by 6 and a bonus 66 to Dominick Paladino's 60. That's the end of the top of the first. And now we do the ceremonial switching of the bowling balls to the opposite ball returns as we are on lanes 3 and 4 in Amesbury, Massachusetts. In this kind of house, the ball returns is 1 per lane. So when you switch sides, you got to switch bowling balls. That's Steve Poste starting out on a strike. Not on the head pin, but pins are still mixing. 7 drop after everything's settled down. Bruno DeFeo looks to respond. We are in slightly close quarters at Riverwalk, so that's a 9 fill on his spare. And Steve Poste nearly converts, but it's going to be a 9 fill on his strike. Bruno DeFeo. And he gets his spare to keep the train rolling. A veteran read, as Mark Ricci, the Spectator, calls it. Bruno DeFeo has 69 and a bonus in 6. Steve Poste has 85 after 6. Steve Poste with a head pin shot and a spread eagle, 4-pin, tough hit. Bruno DeFeo on the spare, drops 8. Steve Poste will take 2 more out of the bird, leaving quite a bit of the carcass remaining. DeFeo fires. DeFeo can't quite take the 7, so he won't get the 3-peat on the marks. Steve Poste will take an 8 for 93 and 7. DeFeo all the while will take a 10 box for 87 in 7. With 3 boxes to go for these 2 bowlers, both bowlers over the 80 mark in the 7th, which is always good to see. Steve Poste on the headpin drops 6. Or sorry, not on the headpin, but drops 6. DeFeo. 3 marks in the game so far. He's on the headpin, and he's a 9 drop. It's a excellent strike for Bruno DeFeo. Steve Poste will punch one more out. He's looking for a 10 box here. 7 box minimum, 10 box maximum. It's going to be a 9 for Steve Poste. 102 and 8. 102 and 8 for Steve Poste, and 97 and a bonus for Bruno DeFeo with 4 marks. Every bowler but Brian Patten has a strike so far, and we're not even done the first game. 6 headpin shots for Bruno DeFeo for 8. Steve Poste just to the right of the headpin, a little bit off. Bruno DeFeo. He fires. It's to the right of the headpin on the strike. Drops 6 so far. Steve Poste is off the object, leaves the 1, the 7, the 8, and the 10. DeFeo looks to get a spare on strike here. It's a pile of 4 in the center, the 1, the 2, the 5, and the 8. DeFeo takes all but the headpin, so he'll get a 9 on the strike. Poste will take a 7, leaving the high-low jack uncontested. DeFeo will take a 9 for 115 in 9 for Bruno DeFeo, and 109 in 9 for Steve Poste. And Steve Poste off to the left of the headpin by quite a wide margin. Bruno DeFeo looks to respond. He's off to the headpin, left of the headpin as well. Poste on the headpin with the remedial second ball. Leaves the 2, the 5, and the 7 on the deck. DeFeo for the spare attempt. He's on the headpin and leaves the 2. It was a great-looking ball. Quite an explosion of pins. So no bowler has a mark here. That'll be a 9 for 118 for Steve Poste. Bruno DeFeo will take a 10. 125 is going to be the first game for Bruno DeFeo. So 125 after 1 for Bruno DeFeo, and Steve Poste finishes the first game with a 118. And those scores are confirmed, as I just very awkwardly leaned over to see the paper copy. So we are completely in sync. I'm going to say hello to Dominick Paladino on your left, and Brian Patten in the black shirt on the left. Dominick Paladino opens with an 8 drop. Brian Patten opens with a diamond. Paladino on the 6-10. He'll take a spare. Expect nothing less from Dominick Kegstand Paladino. And Brian Patten will take one of the 3 pins of the diamond. He'll take 25% of the diamond. But the diamond wins again, as they say on the Channel 5 show. Those are hard to shoot at. For the 10 box, he'll take one more out for an 8. Brian Patten is at 53 after 6, and Dominick Paladino is at 70 after 6. Dominick Paladino, let's talk about his record. He's at 70 and 28 with 7 matches played, a 2.50 win-loss ratio. When he's at home, he has a 28 and 14 win-loss ratio, and that's a 6 drop and a diamond for Dominick Paladino this time. Patten's off to the left of the headpin. Paladino looks to get a spare on the diamond. And he almost defeats the diamond. He leaves the back row. It was a great shot, but again, our lecture about diamonds, you know how hard they are to get. And Brian Patten on the head pin punches hard but leaves the 3. Neither bowler with a mark. Paladino with a 9 or a 10 box now. It'll be a 10. 86 after 7 for Dominick Paladino. And 62 after 7 for Brian Patten. Again, just trying to get the camera angles right today because everything is really tightly packed. So doing the best we can to try to cover all angles of the action to the best of our ability. It went from having all the room in the world at Boutwell's to having almost no room to set things up here at Riverwalk. So quite a contrast. It's a 9 drop for Brian Patten, leaving the 4. Dominick Paladino took the 10 and only the 10 on the first. Second ball takes everything but the 2 and the 5. And Patten for the spare. It goes. That's Brian Patten's second spare of the match for 72 and a bonus in the 8th. Dominick Paladino will take an 8 box of his own for 94 and 8. Brian Patten's got 72 and a bonus after 8. Again, it would appear this match is not head-to-head today, so the bowlers have elected to bowl opposite of one another. Just for your reference, if you're wondering why the matchup names are a little out of whack, that's why. It's up to the bowlers to decide that. Dominick Paladino drops 4. He was off. He was not in the head pin. Brian Patten, nearly a strike, takes 9 on the spare, leaving the 5. Paladino on the 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, 10. He fires. And he leaves the 1 and the 10 on the deck. Brian Patten. Second spare in a row for Brian Patten and the 3rd mark in a row. 91 and a bonus. Paladino for the 10 box on the 1 and the 10. He'll take it in a rather unconventional way. Mark Ricci calls that a cute shot. And I can't disagree. That was an interesting way to get that 10 box, but he does. 104 and 9 for Dominick Paladino. 91 and 9 for Alex Patten. Paladino, final ball of the first game. On the head pin, a split, 5 drops, spread equal minus the 7, 4, 6, 2, 3, 10. Brian Patten, on the head pin, drops 7. And it's a split. 7 on his spare. It'll be an interesting one. Oh, and poor Dominic just misses off to the left. Brian Patten fires. Just the left also. So neither bowler has a mark now. Paladino looking at a 5 box or greater. He'll take the right wing, leave the left for an 8 for 112 in the second game. Steve Poste will take the first game by 4. And with that 8 box from Brian Patten, he's down by 19. 106 to Bruno DeFeo's 125. And that is the story for the first game here at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Lead of 19 for Bruno DeFeo over Brian Patten, and a lead of 6 for Steve Poste over Dominick Paladino's 112. Still early, though. So Steve Poste takes 2 points, Bruno DeFeo takes 2 points. That is the story of the first game so far. We now move on to the second game, taking a walk down to the second game. It's going to be Steve Poste on the right, Bruno DeFeo on the left. Steve Poste will lead off first. Poste. The Sunday afternoon Poste. He's off to the left of the head pin. DeFeo is in the red. He's firing on lane 3. Right about now. DeFeo off to the left of the head pin, drops 5. Steve Poste looks to take a couple more pins for the mark, but doesn't quite get it. Bruno DeFeo all the while shooting at the 4 horseman right side in the 8. He takes the 3 and leaves everything else. Poste for a 10 box. That's a 10 box for Steve Poste. Bruno DeFeo. The 6, 8, 1, 10. And he'll take 8. Talking about Steven Poste, he has a season record of 59 and 53 with 8 matches played. That's a 1.11 win-loss ratio. A home record of 41 and 29. When he's away, he's 18 and 24. That's Steve Poste with a 7 drop, leaving the 1, the 3, and the 6. Bruno DeFeo. And he's on the headpin with a really interesting 8 drop. Pins are bouncing all around. Leaves the 9 and the 10. Poste on the 1, the 3, and the 6. He takes the 6, leaving the 1 and the 3. And DeFeo on the 9 and the 10, looking to spare it up. And there's a piece of wood in front of the 9 and the 10. After a long deliberation, he plays the wood, and it doesn't quite take the 10, unfortunately. The 1 and the 3 for Steve Poste. For the 10 box, he'll take 9. For 19 after 2. Bruno DeFeo's on the 10 pin for a 10 box, and he fires. It's going to be a 9 for Bruno DeFeo as well for 17 after 2. Steve Poste is at 19 after 2. Steven Poste has a season average of 105.75, a home average of 106.4, an away average of 105.1, a high single of 146, a high series of 569. He's a very tall gentleman as well. Playing with all the camera angles to try to accommodate that the best I can. That's a left side half Worcester for Steve Poste. Half Worcester is, and a quarter Worcester for Bruno DeFeo. It's when you punch out the 2 or the 8 and the 3 and the 9. It's a clinic of half Worcesters right here. Steve Poste takes everything but the 7 on the deck. And DeFeo. And he, my goodness, takes a few more out on the right side. Poste shooting for a 10 box. That'll be a 10 for 29 after 3 for Steve Poste. DeFeo shooting at the 1, the 5, the 3, the 4, the 7, the 8, and the 10 on the deck. DeFeo fires. He'll punch one more out. Goodness, that's a 4 box that he went to absolute war for. For Bruno DeFeo, 21 after 3. Wild. Steve Poste drops 7 on the head pin, leaving the 3, 6, 10. DeFeo is not on the head pin. He's got the 1, the 2, the 7, the 8, the 9, and the 10 to contend with. So we wait for a piece of wood to be checked by Mark Ricci. Mark Ricci owns Riverwalk Lanes. Not only the owner, but a very active and very, very fantastic bowler himself. He has record for a high triple, all-time high triple in Candlepin bowling, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe that is the situation. Steve Poste. Oh, it was a piece of wood that was up the hill too far to take all 3 and leaves 1 on the deck. 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10 for Bruno DeFeo that he's shooting at. And he fires hard, and he Hulk smashes a spare. Steve Poste will take the 3 for a 10 box, 39 after 4 for Steve Poste, and 31 and a bonus for Bruno DeFeo. So every bowler but Brian Patten has a strike. Many spares abound for everyone. Bruno DeFeo is the leader of the headpin shots so far with 7. Steve Poste drops 6. Not on the headpin. Bruno DeFeo's on a spare. He fires. On the headpin will be a strike on spare. Sure will. It's a strike on spare for Bruno DeFeo. Steve Poste is still punching, chopping wood. That's 51 and a bonus for Bruno DeFeo after 5. The strike on spare really salvages everything. Steve Poste will take a 10. For 49 after 5. 51 and a bonus after 5 for Bruno DeFeo, and 49 after 5 for Steve Poste. And it appears, yes, it is 49 for Steve Poste. So we are in sync. And we're now going to be moving on to our opposite pairings today. Again, not a head-to-head match today. Alex Patten on the left, Dominick Paladino on the right. Paladino's not on the head pin, he's off to the right. Half Worcester plus DLC. And that's a 9 drop for Alex Patten. Nearly a strike. The 6 pin is wiggling, but it doesn't fall. Paladino fires on his pile of pins after the half Worcester-ish shot. Alex Patten is shooting on a single pin spare opportunity on the 6 pin. Patten fires. Just off to the left. No mark. Paladino on the 1-6-10. That'll be an 8 box for Paladino. Patten will take a 9. Alex Patten, 9 after 1. Paladino, 8 after 1. Dominick Paladino's away record is 42-14. This is his home house, so his home record is 28-14. 3 matches home, 4 matches away. Season average 115, home average 109.7, away average 120.3. It's crazy, and that's a left side half Worcester for Dominick Paladino. Brian Patten on the 1-3 pocket. Another great first ball. Leaves the 5-7 in a split. Paladino on the 1-3 pocket. Leaves the 4-5-6-7-10. Rough shot for Paladino. No spare. Brian Patten leaves the 7 and nothing else. No mark for either bowler. Paladino 7-10, 4-5-6. And that's going to be a foul. He says 5, confirms it. That'll be a 9 for Alex Patten. 18 after 2 for Patten and 13 after 2 for Paladino. It's confirmed. Dominick Paladino is 5 for 12 on the head pin with 2 splits. Brian Patten is 7 for 12 with 2 splits as of right now. We're only on game 2 of 5 of this 5-game series. As is tradition for Candlepin, the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. That's a head pin shot and a split for Dominick Paladino. 6 drop, 2-4-6-10. And Brian Patten has a pile of pins in the center and the left. 1, 2, 5, 7, 8, 9. Paladino takes 1. He's off target. Brian Patten. He punches, and will he take the spare? It goes. That's a spare for Brian Patten. Paladino for a 10 box, 7 box minimum. 7 is the box for Dominick Paladino. 20 after 3. Patten's at 28 and a bonus after 3. Dominick Paladino has a high single 151 and a high series of 616 this season on the ACST. 32 strikes, 90 spares, 72 tens. Perfect box percentage of 55. Seasonal total pins, 40-52. He's the Division III leader in Class B, and he's overall first place in the wild card. Paladino is off target again. Brian Patten with an 8 drop. Not on the head pin, but gets a nice mix. 36 after 3. Paladino's not on the object pin, leaves the 1 and the 2. Patten on the 1 and the 2 for a spare. Yes, sir. He takes it. Paladino, meanwhile, will take a 10. 30 after 4 for Paladino. 46 and a bonus after 4 for Brian Patten. Like I said, you're probably laughing at me or cursing me out in the comments, and I don't blame you every time I get that name wrong. My apologies to Brian and Alex Patten. 7 drop for Paladino, leaving the 1, the 2, and the 8. Brian Patten. He drops 4. Paladino just barely missing the spare. Brian Patten, left half of the deck is left. No mark, leaves the 7 and the 8. Paladino cleans up for a 10 for 40 after 5. Rough half. Brian Patten will take an 8 for 58 after 5. So that's the end of the second half of the second game. Bruno DeFeo is up by 12 in the total and a bonus. Brian Patten's up in the game by 7 minus the total. 58-51, Brian Patten to Bruno DeFeo. Steven Poste is at 49 after 5. Dominick Paladino's at 40 after 5. The difference in the total is 15 between Poste and Paladino. And in the game, the difference is 9. Poste is up by 9 over Dominick Paladino. It's going to be Bruno DeFeo on the right and Steve Poste on the left. DeFeo's on a strike. thick hit on the target pin. Steve Poste on the head pin, dropping 8. DeFeo's on the 4-6-2, 3-10. Punches the 3. It's going to be a 6 fill. Steve Poste misses his mark. DeFeo will take 2 and leave 2 for an 8 box. Steve Poste will take a 10, his third 10 in a row for 59 after 6. Bruno DeFeo, 65 after 6. Bruno DeFeo with nearly a backdoor strike on the head pin. Takes all but the 9. And Poste with nearly a split, but the pins mixed late. Single pin opportunity spares for both of our bowlers. Bruno DeFeo's got a single on the 5 in the center with basically no wood. Poste has a 7 pin with a lumberyard in front of it. And DeFeo misses. And Poste, I think, is going to foul it. Hold for the call. DeFeo will take a 10 all the while. I will double check that, but I believe it was a foul for Steve Poste. And I'm just looking at the paper copy, and it looks like that is confirmed. DeFeo with a late falling 9 drop and another quarter Worcester for that we've seen today. Oh, and that's a strike for Bruno DeFeo. My goodness, that was a late falling strike. Very late falling one. And Poste will take all but the left side accordion, the 7-8-4-5. DeFeo's going to have to reset because the 7 pin fell late. That's a 7 box for Steve Poste, 75 after 8. We need to pause real quick for some lane maintenance. Let's talk about Bruno DeFeo. So he has a season record of 72 and 40. That's a picture of him from the Channel 5 days. Yes, he was on, Candlepin Skins days. Does go back that far on WNDS, TV legend. 5th place in the wild card at the moment. He's second in B North Division 3. At home, he's 48 and 22. When he's away, he's 24 and 18. He has a season average of 110.14, a home average of 114.5, an away average of 106.3, a high single of 140, a high series of 605, and that's Bruno DeFeo. Starting out with a half Worcester on a strike fill, and will Steve Poste get a backdoor strike? He sure will. Bruno DeFeo shooting at the 1, the 2, the 4, the 5, the 7, the 8, the 6, and the 10 for a strike fill. Oh my goodness, it's going to be a 2 fill on the strike. 87 and 8 for Bruno DeFeo. Sorry, a 3 fill. 3 fill. My bad. And he'll take one more out for a 3 box. No, I'm sorry, it is a 2 fill. You can't count. I'll double check all scores, of course, by the end of it all. And DeFeo fires. Head pin shot and a split. 6 drop. Steve Poste. Steve Poste with a 7 drop of his own. And that's an awesome spare by Bruno DeFeo. Steve Poste will take a 9 on his strike. 94 and 9. It's a fantastic shot by Bruno DeFeo. Steve Poste will take a 10. Bruno DeFeo is at 100 in a bonus after 10, I believe, and Poste has 104. And looking over, I do see 104 on the paper for Steve Poste, so that is confirmed. Bruno DeFeo, I believe, is 100 in a bonus, and will confirm after this fill. DeFeo. A little left of the head pin. It will be a 5 fill for 105 for Bruno DeFeo. And apparently it's a 107 on the score sheet, so I'll double check that. Bruno, can I borrow that sheet for a second? Which one? Yeah, just. Sorry. Just verifying some scores real quick. So Bruno DeFeo has 105. That is confirmed. Oh, it is. Okay. All set. Thank you. No, my apologies. I think the scores actually are correct. I was reading the wrong one. Just a couple of bowlers are really close to one another in terms of the numbers. So, and when you're crisscrossing like this, it's always a fun time making sure those are all correct. So, fun times. Remember, the stream scoreboard is always unofficial, so worry not if things get way wacky here. Speaking of wacky, I may have to double check just the last box for Dominick Paladino and Brian Patten. Brian Patten just misses the spare. He leaves 3 on the deck. Paladino on the bucket of 5 on the right. Misses his mark opportunity. No bowler on marks. An 8 box for Patten. Paladino with a 10 box. There we go. Now we're caught up. Just had to sneak over and take a look at the paper copy. 6 drop for Patten on the right. 8 drop for Paladino on the left. Patten's on the 5, the 6, the 1, and the 3, and he's just off target, leaves the 1 and the 5. Paladino on the 3 and the 5. Wants to get a kick. The kick is no good. Frustrated with that one. 1 and the 5. Shot for Brian Patten, and he'll take an 8. For 83 and 8. Dominick Paladino with a 10 box for 65. Three strikes for Bruno DeFeo. Brian Patten is yet to get on the board for the strike. Dominick Paladino has 1. Steve Poste has 2. That's an 8 drop and a split for Brian Patten. Paladino off to the left of the head pin, but drops 8. The 1 and the 7 for Paladino with wood, and just the 9 pin for Brian Patten, and he'll just miss it by a little bit. Paladino now shooting for a spare on the 1 and the 7. Here at Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts, and he just misses the mark as well. Brian Patten for the 10 box. Paladino will miss for a 9. It looks like 74 after 9 for Paladino and 93 after 9 for Brian Patten. That's a frustrating half Worcester plus DLC for Brian Patten. Paladino with another quarter Worcester. We have seen so many of these today. It's wild. Brian Patten punches hard just down the center. And Paladino on the head pin, and he doesn't have much better luck himself. Both bowlers really having trouble here. Sometimes Riverwalk is unforgiving in that regard. Brian Patten will take a 7 for 100 even, falling to Bruno DeFeo's 105 in the second game. All of our bowlers struggling a little bit. Steve Poste had a 104. Paladino with an 82. Just rough all around for all of our bowlers. And these scores are confirmed. I just leaned over and saw everything is lined up. So Bruno DeFeo is up in the total by 24 with a 2-game total of 230 to Brian Patten's 206. Took the second game by 5, 105 to Brian Patten's 100. Dominick Paladino falls to Steven Poste in the second game with his 82 to Steven Poste's 104, a difference of 22. Steven Poste is ahead in the total, 2-game total of 222, up by 28 over Dominick Paladino's 2-game total of 194. That's the second game here at Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts. We're just getting ready to get going here in just a moment. Bruno DeFeo on your right in the red and Steve Poste on the left in the black shirt. Bruno DeFeo will lead off first. Off to the races of the third game, here 5. Bruno DeFeo punches out with a lemon drop, left side. Steve Poste, similar story, right side half Worcester. DeFeo's on the head pin and nearly takes them all. Steve Poste, not on the head pin, nearly takes them all. Both bowlers shooting for 10 boxes. Bruno DeFeo in the red will fire first. And he'll miss to the right, take a 9. Steve Poste will also miss and take a 9. So this is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, Class B North doubleheader. Bruno DeFeo, Dominick Paladino, Steven Poste, and Brian Patten today. And Bruno DeFeo gets some backdoor action, leaves the 5. Steve Poste is off to the right of the head pin. Bruno DeFeo's got the 1, 3, 6, 9, 10. Steven Poste is the 1, 2, 4, 7, 9, 10. DeFeo takes a spare. Pretty spare there. Steve Poste leaves the 1 and the 10 on the deck. And he'll take an 8 box. 17 after 2. Thanks for tuning in to the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, the best place to watch some of the most exciting Candlepin matches from a wide selection of bowlers from all skill levels. That's Bruno DeFeo with a 6 fill on his spare. Not on the head pin with a split. Steve Poste has been having trouble finding that head pin. DeFeo's got the 3, 4, 7, 10. And the pitch, he's wanted to shoot the 3, but just missed it. And Steve Poste is on the head pin that time, but leaves the 5 and the 7. Difficult shot. DeFeo takes 2, leaves 2 for an 8. And an 8 box for Steve Poste. 25 after 3 for Steven Poste, and 33 after 3 for Bruno DeFeo. Bruno DeFeo is a perfect box percentage of 51% with 16 strikes, 105 spares, and 85 tens, 44-58 seasonal total pins. He has the number 3 ACST North highest total spares at 105. That's a 9 drop for DeFeo and a 9 drop for Poste. With a lumberyard of wood all around. Bruno DeFeo will fire first on the 10 pin for a spare. And he just misses narrowly. Poste has his opportunity. And the wood, wow. I almost was about to say it was not going to go, but the ball came back to take it out. And that's a Paul Grant special where you miss the second and get the third for Bruno DeFeo. He's at 43 after 4 with that 10 box. That could have been a spare. $1 donation to Candlepins per cancer per occurrence every time that happens. That's the Paul Grant special, the PGS. It's going to be Bruno DeFeo down on lane 4 with a 5 drop. Steve Poste with an awesome 9 fill on his spare. Possibly a layup down there. Bruno DeFeo is shooting at the 1, the 3, the 6, the 10, and the 8. DeFeo fires. And he'll take 1. And Poste will take another spare, double spare, spare on spare for 54 after 5. A great way to end the half and a great way to salvage the half. DeFeo for a 6-box minimum. It'll be a 7. 50 after 5 for Bruno DeFeo, and 54 and a bonus after 5 for Steven Poste. Quarter of the way through the third game of 5 here on the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. I'm Steve Kelly on the call. It's Class B North doubleheader. Great as always to have you along with us. We're switching back to Brian Patten on the right and Dominick Paladino on the left. Brian Patten is on the head pin, drops 7. Drops 8, actually. Paladino's to the right of the head pin. Pins are still mixing, though. It's a 7 drop after all said and done. Patten will fire first on the 2 and the 4. And the 2-pin jumps. Got some air time there, but it doesn't fall. Paladino, though, will take a nice spare. 10 after 1. Bruno DeFeo described that as kind of looked like Fred Flintstone. Brian Patten will take a 9. Brian Patten has 16 strikes, 45 spares, and 57 tens, a perfect box percentage of 39%, 3,028 seasonal total pins. He's number 4th in Class B North Division 1, and he's 15th place in the overall wild card. Brian Patten is the 32nd highest class average at 100.1 in Class B. And he's not on the head pin, and he drops 7. Paladino on a spare. On the head pin, drops 8. Fills with 8. 18 after 1. Brian Patten's just off to the left. 4-2-8. 6-10 shot for Dominick Paladino. There it goes. Double spare for Dominick Paladino, 28 and a bonus after 2. Patten just off to the left. Takes a 7, 16 after 2. It's Brian Patten again. So he's currently 16 and 68 in the hunt overall. He's got a 539 on the books for the high series and a 126 high single. He's on the head pin there. Drops 8. Leaves the 610. Paladino on a spare. On a fill. On the head pin, drops 5. A lot of splits today. Frustrating shots. But Brian Patten will take a spare. First spare of the game for Brian Patten. Paladino will punch the 2 and leave the banana split, the 4, 6, 7, 10. On the second ball. Paladino will take 1 and leave 3 for a 7 box. That's 40 after 3 for Dominick Paladino and 26 and a bonus after 3 for Brian Patten. Dominick Paladino has the third most strikes in all of the ACST at 32. Number 1 ACST North total strikes, again at 32. Brian Patten drops 6, not on the head pin, but fills with 6. It's a great fill. Paladino on the head pin direct, but it's a split of 5. Patten runs down the left side 4 horsemen for a spare. Excellent job by Brian Patten. And Brian Patten says, I hate the 4 horsemen. Paladino takes 2 and leaves 3. No mark. Paladino on the 3, 4, 7. Take 2, leave 1 for a 9 box. That's 49 after 4 for Dominick Paladino. Brian Patten is 10 for 24 on the head pin with 3 splits. Dominick Paladino is 11 for 24 on the head pin with 5 splits. Patten pins are still mixing. He fills with 7, not on the head pin. Paladino nearly with a strike. He drops all but the 5.
Don't punch the wall. Do not punch the wall down there.
And Brian Patten wanted to get a sweep on the kick of the head pin on the 1-2-10, but he doesn't get anything. Paladino with a spare. Brian Patten on the 2-10. Fires. Takes the 2, leaves the 10 for a 9 box. Patten's at 58 after 5, up by 8 over Bruno DeFeo's 50 and 5. Poste at 54 and a bonus after 5, down by 5 to Paladino's 59 and a bonus after 5. And I believe those scores are confirmed as I just took a look at the paper copy that's a couple of feet and a table ahead of me. We're here at Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts, as the bowlers do the customary ball swap across the 2 ball returns. Steve Poste in the black will lead off first. On a spare. Fills with 4. Not on the headpin. DeFeo not on a mark, but he fires on the headpin and has a strike. Now he has a mark. And Poste will get, oh my goodness, that last 7 pin, I swear, was midway through its fall cycle, and then it stood back up. So no spare for Steven Poste. Looking for a 10 box here. 9 or 10. Will be a 10 for 68 and 6 for Poste, 60 and a bonus and 6 for Bruno DeFeo. So Steve Poste stats again. He's 59 and 53. I'll show you that card in just a moment. Steve Poste on the headpin. Dropping 7, dropping 8. Leaving the 2 and the 5. DeFeo is on a strike. That strike ball, what the heck was that? That was a wild pitch. Wild pitch. Took nothing. Thank goodness you get a second ball. That's a spare for Steve Poste on his 8 drop. And how's that for a remedial fill, a 7 fill for Bruno DeFeo after a gutter ball first ball. And Tom turned to me and goes, holy, kind of gestures to me like a holy moly, but that was I don't know if that's a miss the second, get the third situation. If you gutter on the first, I guess kind of it is, but, you know, let me know in the comments what you think about that one. Steve Poste on the remedial fill. Drops 5 for 83 and 7. And Bruno DeFeo on lane 3. To the right of the headpin. Drops 4. And Poste will take everything but 2, leaving the 5 and the 7, or the 5 and the 8, excuse me. DeFeo, just misses off to the right. For 8 box for Poste. DeFeo hopefully not getting a 4 box here. Oh, and thank goodness he will clean that mess up for a 10 box. DeFeo at 87. Poste at 91. It's a 4 drop for Poste, not on the headpin. DeFeo with a 5 drop, not on the headpin either. It's a 4 horseman left side and the 9. Poste on the spare leaves the 9, nothing else. DeFeo looks to fire on the 1, 2, 4, 7, 9. And leaves all but 2. No mark. Poste takes 10. 101 and 9. DeFeo on the 1, 9. And he'll get his third 10 in a row. He is bailing himself out of some of these potentially disastrous situations. And I'm happy for it. It's always good to see yourself climb out of a hole. 97 and 9 for DeFeo, 101 and 9 for Poste. Poste on the headpin, he knocks out 5, leaves the 4, 6, 3, 7, 10. DeFeo on the headpin, drops 7, leaves the left side triangle. Poste leaves the 4 with no mark. DeFeo looks to respond on the 4, 7, 8. DeFeo has 97 and 9. He can get to 107 and a bonus and 9 if he can make this spare. Let's see what Bruno DeFeo can do. And oh my goodness, he just plays it just at the wrong angle. Can't get the 8 to play ball. Be a 9 for Poste, 110 third game, 3-game total of 332 for Steven Poste, I believe. Unverified. Bruno DeFeo for the remedial 10. He can't get his fourth 10 box in a row. There'll be a 9 and a 106 and a 336 3-game total for Bruno DeFeo. One correction, Steve Poste has 109. Again, trying to verify scores between paper copy and my copy is always fun. So it's 109 for Steve Poste after all is said and done. Dominick Paladino drops 9 and fills with 9. Patten's off to the left of the head pin, drops 4. Paladino on the spare, and he'll take a spare. Patten is still doing a workshop down there on taking pins out. No mark. 6 down, 4 up. And he'll take all but 1, leaving for a 9 box, 67 and 6 for Patten. 78 and a fill for Dominick Paladino. Paladino on a double spare, 78 after 6 and a bonus. And he's on the head pin with a 5 drop. Fill a 5. And a split. That's a head pin shot for Patten, 4-6-7. Paladino just misses the 2 pin. Collides with the wood, takes nothing. And Patten, all the while, he just sails into the void, and the void stares back. Paladino will take 3, leave 2 for an 8 box. 91 and 7. Patten will clean up for a 10 for 77 and 7. Bruno DeFeo went 16 for 30 on the head pin with 5 splits. Steve Poste, 11 for 30 on the head pin with 2 splits. Current fill leader is Bruno DeFeo, totaling 69 in fills, averaging 6.9 per mark, followed by Steven Poste, and totaling 53, averaging 6.6 per mark. It's not a head pin shot for Paladino and not a head pin shot for Patten. They both have some work to do down there in the lanes, on the Riverwalk lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts. Oh, and Paladino that's interesting. He missed the head pin but took the 5 and some stuff in the back row, leaving the 1, the 3, the 4, the 7, and the 9. Brian Patten has the 1, the 2, the 7, the 8, and the 9 on the deck. And he's off to the left. Paladino, 5 box or greater. And he'll clean up for a 9. Great out. And a great out for Patten as well. 86 and 8 for Patten and 108 for Dominick Paladino. Paladino on the head pin with a split, dropping 5. Brian Patten on the head pin as well. Drops 9, much better leave. Paladino shooting at the 10 pin for 10 box. Sorry, not a 10 box. It was the 4-6-2-7-10 for a spare. He takes the 2, leaves everything else. There's the 10 pin for the spare for Brian Patten. 96 and a bonus after 9. Paladino will take a 7. Rough second half for Paladino. 107 and 9. Here's Dominick Paladino. He's a really positive record of 70 and 28. He's currently first in B North overall. His standout record is when he's away with a 3.0 win-loss, but when he's home, he has a 2.0 win-loss, so positive all around. So today's performance is a little bit uncharacteristic for Dominick so far. Currently doesn't have any points earned yet. That's a 3 fill on Brian Patten's spare. Takes a right side Candlepin corner. Dominick punches too hard on the 3, leaving the 1, the 6, and the 8. Brian Patten. Oh, he's just off to the left of the head pin. Paladino with a rough 8 box for a 115 third game and a 309 3-game total. Compare that to Steve Poste's 331 3-game total, unofficially. It's an 8, 9, maybe a 10? It'll be a 9 for Brian Patten with a 108, up by 2 over Bruno DeFeo's 106 in the second game. So I will check this written copy real quick just to verify everything. So just give me one moment while I check that. Brian, was your first game a 107? Okay, can I just borrow this for a second? I think I'm just off. I'm off somewhere. Brian Patten had a 107 in the first game. I'm just verifying that real quick. So I'm correcting his first to be a 107, as it is on the official scoreboard. Bear with me one moment, just verifying all that. Anyways, in the third game, starting out the fourth game here. Streamer is taking a while just to catch up here. And Steve Poste on the right, DeFeo on your left. Neither bowler with a mark. Nine for Poste, 10 for DeFeo. Okay, so I think I should be caught up on scores. I was just off by like 1 here and there. So, again, always on-stream scoreboard is always unofficial. That's a 7 drop for Steve Poste with a split. DeFeo to the right of the head pin. Interesting mark array for both of our bowlers. Start with Steve Poste, 7, 9, 10, spare. Plays the 9 a little bit too hard down the center. DeFeo on the 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. He punches a little bit too hard down the center. Poste. And it'll clean up for a nice 10 box. 19 after 2. 2, 4, 6, 10 for Bruno DeFeo for a 10 box. He'll take 1 for a 7 for 17 after 2. So I believe, actually, after figuring out the third game, it was 336 3-game total for Bruno DeFeo, 315 3-game total for Brian Patten, as he had a 107 in the first game, 331 3-game total for Steven Poste, and a 309 3-game total for Dominick Paladino. I believe I am all caught up on scores now. I'll always give you an update in case anything is off. It's a split for Steven Poste, 6 drop, 5, 3, 9, 10. DeFeo on the head pin, and he drops 9. A nice 9 drop for Bruno DeFeo. And Poste on the 6 drop spare, and the pins dance around. He leaves the 5 and the 10. No good. No mark. DeFeo on the 3 pin for a single pin spare shot. He fires. And he gets it spare. 27 after 3 for Bruno DeFeo. 8 box for Steven Poste, 27 after 3. Steven Poste has 30 strikes, 66 spares, and 90 tens. He has a perfect box percentage of 47%, 4,236 seasonal total pins, and that's an 8 drop for Steve Poste. The 2 and the 4. Bruno DeFeo now. Left to the head pin, 5 drop. 32 after 3. Piece of wood rolling out of play. Steve Poste just misses off the left. Hits the 4, leaves the 2. And there's a piece of wood that is deciding not to roll into the gutter. So we're going to say hello to Mark Ricci down there, going to retrieve and remove the piece of wood that's way out of play. And he just goes right down there like the pro that he is and just takes it all out. Many thanks to Mark Ricci. And there he goes. Steve Poste he's second in B North Division 1 and he's 9th in the wild card, just outside the playoff bracket. But we're still kind of at mostly the midway point of the season. That's a 9 box for Steven Poste. DeFeo is shooting at the single pin, 8 pin for a spare. And DeFeo will take a 10 for 42 after 4. Anyways, to continue our talk about Steve Poste, so he's second in B North Division 1. He's 9th place in the wild card, so in a competitive spot in the hunt. He has number 2 ACST North total strikes at 30, 27th highest class average at 105.75. That's Poste with the right side half Worcester. It's DeFeo on the right of the head pin as well, dropping 4. Poste punches too hard with too full on the head pin, leaves 5 on the deck. Riverwalk is being rather unforgiving in terms of the punch-outs today. Steven Poste has the number 8th class high single at 146, the 2nd highest total strikes in B class at 30, and total 10s, he's at 90, which is the 9th highest. 7 boxes all bound for all of our bowlers. Steve Poste has 7. DeFeo potentially a 7, unless he takes a stick. 3rd ball. 43 after 5 for Steve Poste, and Mark Ricci remarks at some of the crazy rip-offs some of our bowlers have been getting today. It is, wow. Bruno DeFeo has 1 mark, 49 after 5. Steven Poste, no marks, 43 after 5. Yeah, our bowlers are really having trouble right now, which is interesting. Hey, there's Mark Ricci right there, just dancing around. I've only bowled at Riverwalk a few times myself, and I haven't really gotten quite the punch-out run that our bowlers have been getting today, so it's really, really something to watch. Kind of surreal to see this happening. Paladino is way off to the right. Patten has a bouncy, skippy ball, but drops 7. Paladino to the left of the head pin on the 2nd ball. Takes a few more out. No mark. Patten on the 1-2-4. And almost gets a sidewall slide, but nothing doing. And that's a 6 for Paladino, unfortunately. And a 9 box for Brian Patten. It's the story of the first box of the 4th game. Bruno DeFeo with a staggering 4 strikes ahead of everybody else. And the most headpin shots at 18. That's Paladino to the left of the headpin, dropping 6. Brian Patten, not on the headpin, dropping 6 as well. 1-3-6-9 for Paladino, 2-3-1-6 for Brian Patten. Paladino, sleeper pin doesn't go. Brian Patten takes the 3 and the 6, leaves the 1 and the 2 on the deck. Paladino for the 10 box. He'll kick it over for a 10. Brian Patten on the 1 and the 2. Mark Ricci says the woods for professionals. That's an X. I almost said that's an X. That's a 10 box for Brian Patten. That's 19 after 2. All of our bowlers really having some trouble right now getting some marks or just some leaves that they can do anything with, to be honest. Paladino will start out. There's a strike by Paladino. There was the mark that we were looking for. Brian Patten, no such luck on the head pin, leaves the 3, 6, 7. And Patten for the spare. Kicks and gets the spare. The kick is good for Brian Patten. 29 after 3 and a bonus for Brian Patten. Paladino with a strike, 26 and a bonus. Paladino just has to reset because a pin fell on the respot.
Tony makes us look a lot better than we really are. Oh, yeah. Sometimes.
Paladino's working on a strike. Dominick Paladino, the 5th ACST North High Series at 6:16, and he got the screw you shot, the 189. Oh, you gotta love that. And Brian Patten, not much better, the 4-pin spread eagle. My God. So, Dominick Paladino trying to convert the 189 incident, leaves the 6 and the 10. Brian Patten tries to convert the eagle, it plays too much to the right of the back row, leaves the rest of the bird on the deck. 4 pins. Paladino on the 6-10. He'll kick the 6 and the 10. 8 fill and a 10 box for Paladino, and a 7 box for Brian Patten. Dominick Paladino is first in terms of the class average at 115. He has a 5th highest class high single at 151. Dominick Paladino on the head pin on the 1-3 pocket. Oddly rough hit despite being a pocket shot. Patten is to the left of the head pin. Drops 4, I believe. It's the 4-5-7. 4-5-7 for Dominick Paladino. No wood to help him. Wanted to get the kick, went too much to the left. Brian Patten's got the 1-5-3-7, 1-5-3-8-9-10. He fires. Just the right of the head pin. Takes 3, leaves 3. Paladino on the 4-5. We'll take an 8. For 52 after 5 for Paladino. Brian Patten will take an 8 for 48 after 5. That is where we are at. 48 after 5 for Patten. Down by 1 to Bruno DeFeo's 49. Post 43. Paladino 52. That's going to be Bruno DeFeo on your right and Steven Poste on the left. Bruno DeFeo fires first to the left of the head pin. Poste to the left is not on the head pin either. DeFeo for a spare shot. On the head pin, he leaves 2 on the deck. Oh, 1 falls late, but Poste will take his spare. 53 and a ball after 6 for Steven Poste. DeFeo on for the 2-pin. He'll clean up for a 10 box. 59 after 6. Eight. 18 head pin shots, 8 splits. Not bad. Just talking about it. Dom was interested in how many splits he had in the moment, so just obliging there. 7 drop for DeFeo and a split for Poste and a 6 fill. Piece of wood is probably half in, half out, but we'll just double check. Dominick Paladino is going to run down to take a look. Steve Poste got the 4-6-3-7. It is the 2-4-7 and 10. Nope. Sorry, just the 2-4-7 for Bruno DeFeo. Steve Poste at 59 after 6 with that 6 fill on the spare. Bruno DeFeo at 59-6 with the 10 box. DeFeo for a spare shot, 2-4-7. And that's a spare for DeFeo. He's glad that wood got taken out of play. Post just misses off to the right. 4-6, 3-7. And Post with an awesome out. That's a miss the second, get the third Paul Grant special situation. But it was still a pretty shot. 10 box, 69 and 7 for Steve Poste, 69 and a ball, and 7 for Bruno DeFeo. Bruno DeFeo is going to fire first. Lane 4, Riverwalk lanes on the pocket, drops 6. Fills with 6. And Post drops 6 of his own. Not in the headpin. It's a diamond for Bruno DeFeo. The 4-5-2-8. And he takes 2, leaves 2. The diamond wins again. Steve Poste a little bit too full on the headpin. Takes 2, leaves 2 as well. Both bowlers shooting for 10 boxes now. It's a 9 for DeFeo and a 10 for Poste. 79 and 8 for Steve Poste and 84 and 8 for Bruno DeFeo. We're having a fantastic time at Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts. This doubleheader today on the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour on ACST TV. DeFeo to the left of the headpin, drops 7. And Poste drops 8. DeFeo's got a piece of wood that's still settling, and an extra piece of wood falls as an 8 drop for Bruno DeFeo. It got an extra acceleration boost. Check the weight of that pin. So it's 8 drops all around for both of our bowlers. Bruno DeFeo on the 6 and the 9. Nice. Spare for Bruno DeFeo. Steve Poste just missed a little bit. On the 5 and the 3 for Steve Poste for 10 box. He'll take that out for a 10. 89 and 9 for Steve Poste. 94 and a bonus in 9 for Bruno DeFeo. Bruno DeFeo leading the charge on the headpin shots, and Paladino leading the charge in the unlucky department for the splits. That's a 6 drop for DeFeo. And an 8 drop for Poste on the 6 and the 9. DeFeo on his spare shot first. 1, 3, 7, 10. Piece of wood behind the 1 and the 3. And he's just off. Misfire there. And Poste on his spare, he connects with the 10 and leaves the 6, unfortunately. Bruno DeFeo for a 10 box. 6 box minimum. It'll be a 7 for Bruno DeFeo and a 9 box for Poste. 98 for Steve Poste and 107 for Bruno DeFeo. I'll double check that real quick. So it would appear that Bruno DeFeo actually has a 111. Just going to double check what happened there. So Bruno DeFeo has a 111. I'm going to double check. Just need to pass around the paper copy just to see what's going on. For the moment, I'll just make it 111 just artificially for the moment just to make sure that we're not falling too behind. Alex Patten was on the head pin. Dominick Paladino has a split. Sorry, Brian Patten, not Alex Patten. My goodness. Paladino, no mark. Patten, no mark. So DeFeo has a 4-game total of 447, at least by my count, with that 111 in the fourth. It's going to be a 9-box for Patten and a 10-box for Paladino. 66 in 7 for Brian Patten and 72 in 7 for Dominick Paladino. I'll show you the scores real quick. DeFeo's score isn't fully accurate. The game total is. I just made it 111 just in a couple of boxes just to make sure the final count is correct for the moment. We'll go back and fix that later. Just hard to pass the paper copy around while they're actively scoring. You know how it is. Brian Patten will lemon drop. Paladino will take a split of a 6-drop. 7-pin deciding if it wants to fall or not. It's a 5, still 5 on the deck for Patten, no mark. Paladino misfires, but almost steals it. Leaves the 3 on the deck. No mark for either bowler. 5-box minimum for Patten. Sails through the void. 5-box. And a 10 for Paladino. Brian Patten has 71 in 8. Paladino has 82 in 8. Patten just off to the left of the head pin. Paladino on the head pin drops 6. Left side check mark inverted. Patten's got the 1, 3, 6, 7, 9, 10 to contend with. He's just off the head pin. Can't quite take the head pin though. Paladino will take his spare though, right on the check mark. Patten's shooting for a 10-box on the head pin. He'll take 9. 80 and 9 for Brian Patten. Dominick Paladino, 92 and a bonus and 9. Let's talk about the head pin and split situation. Bruno DeFeo, 20 for 40 on the head pin. Patten, 14 for 39. That's 9 drop for Patten, leaving the 10. Paladino, 21 for 39 at the moment. Make that 22 for 40. 8 on the spare. Drops a split. Patten for a single pin spare, and he's just off. Tried to play the wood, but couldn't quite get the bounce he was looking for. Paladino just misses off to the left. Patten takes a 10. Paladino doesn't have a mark. He's over 100. Could be 108. It'll be 109 for Paladino. So Bruno DeFeo is a 111. Brian Patten has a 90. 447 to 405. DeFeo in the driver's seat. 6 points to Brian Patten's 2 at the moment. Steve Poste with a 98 in the fourth, 429 4-game total. Paladino with a 109 in the fourth, 418 4-game total. Between Poste and Paladino, they are currently tied at 4 and 4. DeFeo has 6 points. Brian Patten has 2. I'll double check those scores in just a moment. Alrighty. Appreciate your patience on that. Just had to adjust a couple of box values for Bruno DeFeo specifically, and now it is in sync with the paper copy. Again, it's always super fun. It's in a house. This is a very old school house with paper scoring and entirely manual everything. And then when you add a layer such as having a streamer with a scoreboard that's completely separate from all that, and then running back and forth just to make sure everything's in sync or whatever, you have a recipe for something, certainly. So we're setting up here for the 5th game. Bowler's just taking a breather here. So in case you missed it, Bruno DeFeo is up in the total by 42, 447 to Brian Patten's 405. Dominick Paladino is down in the total 418 to Steven Poste's 429, a difference of 11. And we're going to be starting the fifth and final game here. Still just waiting on some lane maintenance down there on the lanes. So here's what Class B North looks like. There's the 4 divisions, 4 bowlers in each division. It's a little like the NFL and how things are structured. You can see there are some crisscrosses today in terms of the divisionals and all that. We are at Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts. Mark Ricci is the owner. That's Mark with a K, not Mark with a C. I have a spelling error I got to fix there. Sorry about that. The old name of this house was called Lafayette Lanes way back in the day. Riverwalk Lanes, and its new name was established in 2013 with 8 lanes, all wood approaches, all wood lanes, home of the King of the River tournament. Very cute residential area with narrow streets and thickly settled roads. Located nearby the Powwow River, if you park in the lot in Friend Street, you can experience the River Walk to Riverwalk, which is likely where I think the house got its name from. Mark Ricci is a dude I've seen drinking a Dunkin' coffee at 8:30 at night. He is a dedicated dude. He's actually down there fixing the lanes right now while we're just vamping while he fixes that. He holds several Candlepin records. He bowls in the Friday Night Pro League. And yeah, so the equipment and the lanes are much older than they seem here at Riverwalk. This is a very old school house. So just waiting on lane maintenance and just occasionally fixing some stuff that occasionally gets tired or breaks down. Is just a way of life here. So just bear that all in mind. Hey, if you like this content and want to check out more, there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube I want you to check out, such as Candlepin Bowling Network on YouTube, Candlepin Corner on YouTube, 3-Ball Spare on YouTube. There's the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour page on Facebook as well as YouTube. There's at Candlepin Bowling on TikTok. Check out their content, such as like Outrun the Bear and all kinds of other fun stuff if you're into TikTok and all that. There's Candlepin Chat on Facebook. There's alleychat.net for recaps of the Friday Night Pro League, as well as their YouTube channel on youtube.com/alleychat. Wolfman12395 and the Candlepin Bowling channel are great channels for classic Candlepin content from decades past, like the old Channel 5 show or WNDS Candlepin Stars and Strikes and all that. We're also featuring podcasts such as Ripping the Rack and The Approach on Facebook and YouTube. Tony Levesque has a YouTube channel where he also posts Friday Night Pro League content and little shorts and fun bits. And so does Charlie Collins. He's over on TikTok, so check him out. I want you to also check out candlepins4cancer.com, candlepins4cancer.com. For qualifying roll-offs or donates, run by Al Johnson and Paul Grant. Al Johnson in the blue there in that picture. Paul Grant on the right in the red. And the upcoming roll-offs for the latest Candlepins for Cancer tournament is actually going to be here at Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts in the coming weeks in January 2025 here. So do check that out. The sign-up sheet is on candlepins4cancer.com. So definitely check that out. And if you think Candlepin bowling is fun and you think you can bowl better than Dominick Paladino, Brian Patten, Bruno DeFeo, and Steven Poste, I invite you to get in the car, go to your nearest bowling center. Maybe before getting in the car, before getting in the car, might I suggest that you go to candlepin.org and click Go Bowling to find your nearest center so you know where you're going. There is an alley even in Albany, New York, all the way up the coast of New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maine, Canada as well. Not all centers are shown on the map, bear in mind. So, anyways, and in case you need to know how to read the scoreboard or there's just some things you're not quite understanding, so on my scoreboard system, the headpin shots are the green lights to the left of the tower. The splits are represented as the red lights on the right of the tower. There's the double strike spare 10 symbols, of course, in case you're wondering what each of those mean. And the bottom of the scoreboards is just a recap of the games, including the titles and all of that. And then there's a little mini map that's displayed in the main screen as well, where it shows what game we're on, the initials of each bowler, how many points they have up to the moment, as well as the match and the game totals, and in the gray area it just shows the differences. So in case you're wondering what all that is, here you go. Now you're in the know. Let's see. We have not talked about anyone too much in detail yet. Let's just double check. I don't know if we've shown the slide for Dominick Paladino yet, but let's show Dominick Paladino. He's currently number 1 in Class B North total strikes at 32. He's number 3 in the high series of 616 for the class, that is. He's 9th in Class B for total spares at 90. He is 5th in the class average spare fill at 6.52, not counting this match. He's 3rd in the class perfect box percentage of 55%. And he's 7th in the fewest average pins left at 40.86. That's Dominick Paladino. And then talking about Steven Poste, talk about some superlatives for Steven Poste and grab pag stats. In his past 5 matches, he's taken 41 points, averaging 8.2 per match. He's had 23 strikes, 44 spares, and 57 tens in the past 5 matches. 4.6 strikes per match, 8.8 spares per match, and 11.4 tens per match for Steven Poste. He has 27-38 total pinfall in the past 5 matches, averaging 547.6. He has 3 out of 8 matches over 550. He has 4 out of 8 matches with double-digit wins, and that is staggering. When you have double-digit wins, that means you are in the money in terms of a win-loss ratio. Steven Poste has his longest streak of matches at or over 100 currently clocked at 6, and he has 4 matches in a row at or over 540. His head pin average per match is 22 for 50, and his split average per match is 9.1. And then let's take a look over at Brian Patten. We're still waiting on the lane to be fixed at the moment, so that's just why we're riffing at the moment, in case you're wondering what the heck is going on. We're just waiting to start the top of the 5th game here. Brian Patten, in his past 5 matches, he's taken 14 points. He had 15 strikes, 41 spares, and 45 tens in the past 5 matches, averaging 3 strikes per match, 8.2 spares per match, and 9 tens per match. He's had, in the past 5 matches, a total of 2,552 pins in terms of grand total pinfall, averaging 510.4. His head pin average per match has been 22 for 50, and his split average per match has been an even 8. Most recently, Brian Patten faced Tony Delmonico in round 6. It was a home game at Riverwalk Lanes. He took 0 points, unfortunately, with a 464 series. He bowled a 96 and 86, a 109 and 93, and a 77 with 4 strikes, 3 spares, and 9 tens. He had 17 for 50 on the head pins that day with 7 splits. And then, of course, we have our WNDS TV participant, Bruno DeFeo, who has this number 7 high class average at 110.4. He has the number 3 class average strike fill at 9.4. The number 6 class high average at high series at 605 for Class B. And in Class B, he's number 2 in total spares at a count of 105, not counting this match. He has the 4th fewest average pins left in Class B at 40.63. In his past 5 matches, he took 44 points, averaging 8.8 per match, 13 strikes, 64 spares, and 52 tens in those past 5 matches, 2.6 average strikes per match, 12.8 average spares per match, 10.4 average tens per match. He's totaled 2806 total pinfall, 2806 total pins in terms of total pinfall, averaging 561.2 per match. That's a great average. Really, when you're getting in the ballpark of 600 per match, that is really getting to be a great stat right there. And let's take a look down the lanes. It looks like Mark Ricci is, well, I see pins down there, so I'm thinking we are almost in business. Mark Ricci, I heard a bunch of power tools and stuff, so I think we might be almost just about back in business. We'll wait for him to come back and give us a thumbs up. Bruno DeFeo, all the while, he has 1 out of 8 matches over 600, 5 out of 8 matches over 550, 5 out of 8 matches with double-digit wins, 2 out of 8 matches with shutout victories, going 14-0. He's gone 7 games going over 100 uninterrupted, and Mark Ricci has given us the thumbs up. So we're ready to start the 5th game after a dramatic pause. But now lane 3 is ready to go Again, this is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. This is the Class B North doubleheader. Just about to start the 5th game of 5. I'm Steve Kelly on the call. After a brief delay due to a lane breakdown, we are just about ready to start up again. That's Bruno DeFeo on your right and Steve Poste on the left. All right, let's get back to the bowling here. Bruno DeFeo starting out on lane 4. To the right of the headpin, drops 6, drops 7. And Poste on the headpin drops 9. Almost feels like a whole different brand new match at this point after that wait. So Bruno DeFeo on the center triangle for a spare. And will he get the kick? Steve Poste will get his spare. Bruno DeFeo waiting on that pin to see if it will fall, but it won't fall. So DeFeo looking to get a 10. He'll get his 10. 10 after 1 for both bowlers. Poste has a bonus. Bruno DeFeo recently went against Justin Rodier at Academy Lanes in a home game in round 9. Took 14 points in a shutout victory with a 577 series with a 123, 95, 138, 106, and 115 with 5 strikes, 11 spares, and 12 tens. 8 drop for DeFeo in a split. Poste with, my goodness, I think it's going to be a 3 fill. The wood is confirmed to be in by Mark Ricci. DeFeo's got the 8 and the 9 with a bunch of wood around it, but it's all at awkward angles. I don't know what's going to happen here. Got to play it and find out. And DeFeo, again, he almost gets another spare and gets ripped off again. And Poste with the spare. It's like a repeat of the first box. Poste is at 23 and a bonus after 2. DeFeo for a 9 or a 10 on the 8 pin. He'll miss it for a 9, 19 after 2 for Bruno DeFeo. And DeFeo not on the head pin, but drops 5. Poste with another rough fill of 4, spread eagle. DeFeo's got the 4 horseman right side and the 7. DeFeo punches the 3, gets nothing else. Poste sails through the center. And DeFeo will take a 7 all the while, and Poste will take a 6. Rough boxes for both of our bowlers here at Riverwalk Lanes in the 5th game. Poste with a 2 mark 33 after 3, and DeFeo 26 after 3 markless. Bruno DeFeo to the left of the head pin. He's got a left side half Worcester. And a left side of half Worcester plus for Steven Poste. DeFeo. Punches the 1 and the 5. Nothing else. And Poste sails through the void. No mark for either bowler. DeFeo's looking at a 4 box or greater. Hopefully he gets something out of this. He'll punch 2. Oh my goodness. Just 3 punches in a row. 6 box for both of our bowlers. 39 after 4 for Steve Poste and 32 after 4 for Bruno DeFeo. One more to go before they sit. This is their final first half of the match today. Game 5 of 5 here on the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. I'm Steve Kelly on the call. Bruno DeFeo on the head pin, drops all but the 5. Fast 9 drop. And Steve Poste, similar story, but drops 8. Bruno DeFeo on the 5 pin for a spare. And he just misses off the right. Poste also misses the object pin, connects with the 6, leaves the 3. 10 box opportunities for both bowlers. That's a miss the second, get the 3rd situation for DeFeo. Poste will take a 9. Paul Grant special right there. So we're going to take a look at the scores real quick at the end of the first half here. 42 after 5 for DeFeo. 48 after 5 for Poste. And that's the situation right now. And we're going to say hello once again to Brian Patten and Dominick Paladino. Brian Patten opens with a 7 drop. He wasn't on the head pin. Leaves the 1-2-4. Paladino, not on the head pin either. Drops 5. Paladino's got the 1-2-4. Brian Patten's got the 1-2-7-9-10. Brian Patten misses a spare. Leaves 1 on the deck. Paladino on the 1-2, and will the last pin go? It almost looked like it was, again, about to fall, but it got stood back up somehow. Stand up and fight. Both bowlers for 9 or 10 box. Patten first, 9 box. Paladino will take a 10. It's 10 after 1 for Paladino, 9 after 1 for Patten. Paladino and Steve Poste are a little bit more even in terms of the point differentials. Brian Patten will take a lemon drop on the 6 pin. Paladino's on the head pin. Will it be a strike? The 5 pin is glued to the ground. It will not go, unfortunately. Brian Patten trying to fix a lemon drop. It's off the left, tails off. Paladino on the single pin spare. It goes. That's a spare for Paladino. 20 in a ball after 2. Brian Patten just trying to make something out of this. Something greater than a 4 box, hopefully. And it will be a grade out of a 9. 18 after 2 for Brian Patten. 4 strikes for Bruno DeFeo, still the king of the strikes today. He's also the king of the spares at 10. Patten and Poste are at 9. Paladino's at 8 in terms of the spares. 7 drop for Patten. 4, 7, 8. Paladino to the right of the head pin drops 5 and fills with 5. 4 horse on the left side and the 10. Patten for a spare shot on the left side back triangle. It looks like it's going to be a spare. Cleans up very nicely. 28 and a bonus after 3. Paladino just off the left of the head pin takes a 2. Leaves the 1, the 4, the 7, and the 10. Here at Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts. Paladino will take 2, leave 2 for an 8 box. That's 33 after 3. 28 and a bonus after 3 for Brian Patten. Patten on the head pin, on the nose, on the spare, fills with 7. Gets a split for his efforts. 4, 6, 3. Paladino on the head pin and another spread eagle, another split. Just these ugly splits for Dominick Paladino. Brian Patten wants to get the kick but can't quite do it. The 3 and the 4 are on the deck. Paladino 4, 6, 2, 3, 10. Takes the 4, leaves everything else. Patten will take 9. Paladino for a 6 box or greater. A punch for a 7. 40 after 4 for Paladino. 44 after 4 for Patten. Dominick Paladino is 24 for 44 on the head pin. That's a perfect 50%. Excuse me, not a perfect 50%. You know, numbers. Fun stuff. 7 drop for Patten. Paladino on the head pin. Leaves the 10. Steve Poste jokes, that wood looks good. It's rolled so far out of play, it's actually out of the zoom cam. Mark Ricci's checking it out. Here it comes. Recently, Dominick Paladino faced Jeff Little in round 8. It was a home game at Riverwalk. That's a spare for Brian Patten. 54 and a bonus. Dominick Paladino just misses his spare just by a hair. My goodness. Dominick took 11 points in round 8 against Jeff Little. 6-16 series at Riverwalk lanes. 151, 108, 103, 114, 140 with 9 strikes, 8 spares, 14 tens, 32 for 50 on the head pin, and 9 splits for that match. A little bit better than this match, unfortunately. Dominick Paladino takes a 9, and that's 49 after 5 for Paladino. Patten 54 and a bonus after 5. I'm going to double check those scores while I have a chance. And those scores are confirmed across the board. Always love when that happens. And we're just, again, transitioning back to our other 2 bowlers today. It's going to be Steve Poste in the black. On the right with a split. Bruno DeFeo on the right. DeFeo on the headpin dropping 6 with a split of his own. Both bowlers on splits. Poste 4-6, 3-7, 10. He takes the 3, leaves everything else. DeFeo 7-8, 9, 5. DeFeo shooting for a spare. Just a little bit off. He plays the wood. Best thing you can do. Oh my goodness, Poste is going to take a 6 box on the banana split. For 54 and 6. DeFeo will take 8 for 50 and 6. DeFeo 23 for 46 on the headpin today. Poste is 21 for 46 on the headpin today. And that's a strike for Steve Poste, though. Everything falls eventually. And that's a split for Bruno DeFeo. Rough 5 drop. Take a look at that. The 7-8, 10, 4-2. And he almost takes everything. He leaves the 8. The sleeper pin stays. 9 or 10 box for Bruno DeFeo. Oh, and it's going to be a 10 box. Piece of wood curls around. 60 after 7 for Bruno DeFeo. 64 and a bonus for Steven Poste in the 7th. Bruno DeFeo was told 90 in bonus pins on fills, averaging 6.4 for Mark, and that's an 8 drop for Steve Poste so far on the strike with a 7-10 split. Bruno DeFeo on the head pin dropping 8, 5-9. Steve Poste. Will he get it? He'll get a spare on strike. Yes, he sure will. Needed that one. 84 and a ball after 8. Bruno DeFeo on the 5-9. With wood all around it. We'll see how this goes. And he gets it. It was a little bit of a hair raiser there to see if that 9 pin would go, but it does. Bruno DeFeo's at 70 and a bonus after 8. Poste on a spare. And that's a spare on a strike on spare for Steve Poste. Chaining them together now. 104 and a bonus in the 9th. He's rallying a comeback here after a 48 half, but he's really piling on the hurt against Dominick Paladino right now in terms of the total. DeFeo had a 5 on his first drop and a 5 fill, 75 and 8. 1, 2, 7, 9, 10. He's just off target. Takes 2, leaves 3. DeFeo for a 7 box minimum, 10 box maximum. And he'll take an 8. 83 and 9 for Bruno DeFeo. DeFeo 25 for 49 the head pin today, 8 splits. Poste 24 for 49 the head pin, 8 splits. And so far the 7 drop and a split for Poste. 5, 9, 10. DeFeo on the 1-3 pocket, a bit of an interesting hit there. Drops 7. Left side triangle. Poste ends the Mark streak there with an 8 fill. 112 and 9. DeFeo, 4-5-2. He'll take the 4, leave the 2 and the 5. Poste, take the 10, leave the 5 for a 9 box. 121 at game 5 for Steven Poste. 5 game total of 550 before we verify. 8 for DeFeo, 5 game total of 538 with that 91. And again, we'll verify all the scores at the end. So at the moment, DeFeo has a 5 game total of 538 with that 91. Steven Poste has a 121 with a 5 game total of 550. Dominick Paladino has to get 83 to exceed the total. And Brian Patten, similar story, needs 79. In the game, he needs 37. Paladino needs 72 in the game. So it's going to be a rough situation for Dominick Paladino. Paladino with another spread eagle and another split today. Got to be frustrating. Patten with a 5 on his fill, not on the head pin. Paladino takes the left side of the bird, leaves the right side. And Patten just misses the right side cleary. Paladino will take 2, leave 1 for a 9 box. And Patten will clean up for a 10. That's a miss the second. Get the third situation. Another Paul Grant special. Miss on the second. Get the third. $1 donation to Candlepin for cancer per occurrence. Paul Grant is always watching. Dominick Paladino is going to be starting on lane 4 at Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts. Appreciate you watching. Have a couple special thanks to say before we sign off, such as our ACST League Commissioner Danny Finn, our ACST Treasurer for Class B Corey Alisi. All of our ACST committee members are always awesome, and we always thank you for everything you do. 6 drop for Dominick Paladino, 4 horseman left side. That's our right side triangle Candlepin corner for Brian Patten. I'd like to thank ACST's statistician Micah Imperato, Steve Abodeely for B-roll and photography. Go check him out at stabodeely.com, STABODEELY.com. And that's a stereo spares for both of our bowlers, meanwhile. 68 in a bonus for Paladino in the 7th. 79 in a bonus in the 7th for Brian Patten. I'd like to thank Brian Hebert for some advice and direction. The staff, Mark Ricci at Riverwalk Lanes here in Amesbury, Massachusetts. And of course, viewers like you. Always appreciate you all watching. Hope you always enjoy this kind of content. Hope this was a pleasant viewing experience for you. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, again, we have a whole ton of socials like the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour page on Facebook and YouTube, the Candlepin Chat group on Facebook, Candlepin Bowling Network, 3 Ball Spare, Candlepin Corner, Candlepin Bowling on TikTok, Outrun the Bear on Facebook and Instagram, Alley Chat on Facebook, Alley Chat on YouTube, that is, and alleychat.net. Wolfman12395 for YouTube for uploads of classic Candlepin matches of yesterday. The Candlepin Bowling channel on YouTube. The Ripping the Rack podcast on YouTube. The Approach podcast. Tony Levesque on YouTube. Charlie Collins on TikTok. And I'm sure there's probably a whole bunch of other folks that probably just haven't listed. So just let me know if you want to be included ever on that. Paladino on the fill. Fills with 8. Patten, left to the head pin, fills with 8 as well. Not bad considering he missed the head pin there. Paladino's got the 2-4 with wood. Oh, and it was a wild miss. Wild pitch to the right. And Brian Patten, same idea. Not the right inspiration to take. Paladino will clean up for a 10 box for 86 and 8. He's at a deficit of 46 in the total and 35 in the game. That's a 9 box for Brian Patten, who himself is at a deficit of 5 in the game and a deficit of 37 in the total. Just to give you an idea of where they are. The gap is closing sooner for Brian Patten, but not so much for Dominick Paladino. He has to basically go lights out to really get anything done here. And I think that will more or less closed the door on that for Dominick Paladino. 7 drop, 1-2-7. Brian Patten drops 9, leaves the 6 on the deck. 1-2-7 for Paladino. He shoots for a spare. Fires. Oh, and he just missed the left. Leaves the head pin, no mark. That will be the total for Poste. And might be the game as well. Patten misses his mark as well. It's a 9 box for Paladino. Brian Patten takes a 9 as well. 105 and 9 for Patten, 95 and 9 for Dominick Paladino. Poste at 550, Dominick Paladino at 513 plus a box. DeFeo at 538, Patten at 510 plus a box. Paladino's final first ball, left of the head pin, lemon drop on the 4 pin. And Patten to the right of the head pin gets a little bit more than a lemon drop. Paladino on the head pin there, and he takes all but the 2 pin, almost a spare. He's looking at a 105 potential game. No spare for Patten either. He's looking at a potential 115 game. That's a 10 box for Paladino. For 105 and a 5 game total of 523 under Steve Poste 550. And a 9 box for Brian Patten, 114, 5 game total of 519. And again, all these scores are unofficial, so we'll verify those. But it looks like Bruno DeFeo is victorious over Brian Patten today. Steve Poste and Dominick Paladino will split 10 and 4. Paladino will take 4. Steve Poste will take 10. So real quick, we'll just take a moment just to prepare the final stats. And again, this is unofficial, but here's what I have in terms of my count. It looks like Bruno DeFeo will take 10 points to Brian Patten's 4. Steven Poste will take 10 points to Dominick Paladino's 4. 538 to 519, DeFeo and Patten, respectively. 550 to 523, Poste and Paladino, respectively. And again, those totals, if they are off by a little bit, again, the paper copy is the official copy, not the stream copy. But I think I was reasonably in sync up to the 5th game. A couple times got out of sync, but occasionally just grab some paper copies to sync back up. But if it's wrong in post-production, my apologies. Always fun trying to keep in sync with this. So DeFeo and Steve Poste with 4 strikes today. Dominick Paladino with 2. King of the spares was Brian Patten at 12, actually. Bruno DeFeo following up with 11, and then Steve Poste. In terms of the head pins, it looks like Dominick Paladino did the best 27, while 26 for DeFeo and Poste was the runner-up, tie for second place. Brian Patten had some trouble on the head pin today with 19 out of 50. So Bruno DeFeo will finish it with an 82-44 record. Brian Patten will move to 20-78. Steve Poste will go to 69-57, and Dominick Paladino will go to 74-38. And that should just about do it for us here at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, this doubleheader at Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts. I've been Steve Kelly on the call for Bruno DeFeo, Brian Patten, Steve Poste, and Dominick Paladino. It's been a great broadcasting this to you. I hope you enjoyed this match, and we'll see you at the next Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Have a great one, everybody.